Okay, you auditioned. Now what? If that's what you're wondering, don't worry, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Irene. I make videos about K-pop audition every Wednesday and Sunday, so make sure to subscribe to Lovey Irene if you want more of that kind of content. Now, I've already made a video almost exactly like this, but it was 3 years ago, and hopefully with further information and a better improved skill in explaining things, hopefully this video will be more helpful to you guys. Don't go search that video up because it's really cringe. Let's just begin. To first start off with, we know that there is about 3 or 4 rounds in K-pop auditions. Now, this is the absolute norm. It's different for every single individual. It could be 1 round for some, and it could be 7 rounds for some. So let me just touch on that point. What do more rounds mean, and is this beneficial, or is it almost not a good thing when it comes to K-pop auditions? Well, it just means that your situation is a little bit more complex. So for example, if you're a foreign individual, if you're a foreigner, then there's typically going to be more steps. And the reason why is because there's more business to handle, such as your visa, your school, if applicable, your moving situation, your flights, all of that. And another example of where there could be more rounds is if you're a minor. If you're a minor, then you're probably going to have to, or you will, involve your parents into the discussion. Hence, there will be more conversation surrounding that. Additionally, for both situations, there will be more additions to your contract because you're simply a foreigner or a minor. And if you have both of these things, if you're a foreigner and you're a minor, then you can probably expect at least 4 rounds. Now let's talk about the opposite side of this if you've got less steps in your K-pop audition journey. Well, that just means that the company might be a little bit more urgent in finding the last member for their debut lineup or some situation like that where they need to get trainees really quickly. Like for example, Olivia Hye from Luna, she literally had 1 day of training and she was automatically a member of Luna. So it just kind of goes to show how there's different situations, and if the company is demanding for a new trainee, then they're going to have to take less steps because that's all time and more energy spent into this. We're going to start off with the very first round of your K-pop audition. Now this could be very diverse and really depends on what kind of audition that you first start off with. So for example, this could be your online audition, your one-on-one Zoom audition, your global offline audition, your offline audition in Korea, and so much more. A lot of people actually ask me, how do I join private auditions? Well, that's not really a thing in your first round unless you've got crazy connections within the entertainment industry, which is quite rare, and maybe they provide you with an audition, like a private audition setting, but it's very rare. I'll be talking about more about private auditions in the second round because that's a little bit more applicable. If you pass this first round, there's not really much to discuss about this because basically all of my videos surrounding audition tutorials are about this first round. Anyway, if you pass, then you will receive a text, a call, which is a little bit less common, especially if you're a foreigner. The more common ones will be, I guess, KakaoTalk call or message. If they have your number, then they can access your KakaoTalk account, which is why I always recommend creating a KakaoTalk account in advance. And then the very most common one would be email. Then they'll inform you that you've passed through email. Now, another question that I'll get surrounding this topic is, how long will it take for me to receive a response on my first round audition? Now, that really varies. I would say it's like the most unclear thing about K-pop auditions. There's a lot of unclear things in K-pop auditions, but this is the most unclear thing. So this could literally take from weeks to months. I know how super vague that is. I wish I could provide a better answer for you guys, but because it's a thing where it really varies from company to situation to time to person, there's so many factors to consider. But let me list those out for you guys so you kind of know what to expect. So firstly, online auditions are going to take longer. There's more people applying for online auditions all around the world, so there's going to be more responses to check from the company's side. And then one-on-one Zoom auditions take shorter than online auditions, but still take a bit of time. And then the speediest one you'll get is offline auditions. This one you can expect maybe 2 weeks or so. That one I can definitely provide a definite answer in, but for the other ones, it's going to be longer. So the order goes from fastest to shortest: offline auditions, Zoom auditions, and then online auditions. And then if you're auditioning for something that's kind of different than those 3, then kind of put them in the middle of where that might belong. This question is a little sad, but understandable at the same time. So when should you start losing hope and be thinking, oh, I probably didn't pass? Well, firstly, I just want to say, don't just sit around waiting for a response. That's definitely not the best use of your time. However, in the meanwhile, you can audition for other companies, other auditions, and provide yourself more opportunities to pass your round. But I would say around 3 months or so, then you can start expecting that you did not pass this audition and definitely move on. And this question is kind of straying away from the topic of process of K-pop auditions. However, another question that I get asked very often is, when should I audition for the same company again? When is a good time so that it doesn't feel like spam? Okay, so this one is additionally very vague because it depends on you and how much you've improved since your last video. If you feel that you've significantly improved and changed from the last video, then go ahead and submit your video. But if you feel that you haven't, then I would take like 6 months, because really you do need that time. If you audition the month later, realistically you're probably not that different from your month away self, or month before self, I suppose. So take 6 months. I think that's like a pretty good guideline. Now we're going to move on to the second round, which is definitely a private offline audition. And I'm going to be talking about the situation where that doesn't happen at the very end, so keep watching, I guess. So this situation is where you're just with a judge in a room and they'll have a camera with them so that they can share it with the rest of the audition department. What they're going to do is ask you to do a bunch of things. So if you audition for singing in the first round, then they'll ask you to dance, they'll ask you to freestyle, they can ask you to do anything in your second round, essentially, is how you can think of it as. If they were interested in you in the first round, then they probably asked you a lot of questions already. However, in this round, they're going to ask you even more questions about yourself that might feel a little bit personal, but you've got to answer all of them. And I truly think that the second round is the most effective round to show off yourself and everything that you potentially can have. Because what they're ultimately looking for is your potential as a trainee. So they could ask you to do any special talents, in which case you shouldn't sit there and be like, oh, I don't have any special talents. You should be like, oh, I can do this funny thing, and entertain them, because at the end of the day, you're trying out for the entertainment industry. Of course, it's the K-pop industry, but it's still an entertainment industry where you have to show off what's unique about yourself. So if you speak any special languages, this is the time to show that off, but obviously still be relevant to the K-pop industry and don't do something that's totally far off. Now this round will 90% of the time be in Korea, and I guess the 10% belongs to when the company is having a global audition and they're going around from different country to country and they're like, oh, we can actually meet you in LA, how about that? And maybe if you live in LA, then you can go see them at that place, but 90% of the time you'll have to go to Korea yourself. And yes, you have to pay your own flight ticket. I think we've had this conversation so many times. I'm sure you guys know by now, don't have to repeat that. Now let's talk about the very small chance that you can't make it to Korea and you've got to provide other solutions to them. Most of the time they'll be like, sorry, then we're not interested, but maybe you meet a super nice company and they're like, okay, how about we do a one-on-one Zoom audition? In that case, your second round will be a one-on-one Zoom audition. But for the third round, you'll definitely have to go to Korea. What a perfect transition into the third round. But this is when stuff gets serious. You start talking about the contract, and if this is your last step, honestly, you won't know until you sign the contract. That is when your last step is. But maybe you signed the contract at this step if this was your final round. So if you're a minor, your parents will definitely be involved in this conversation. So let's talk about how the third round is different from the second round. So instead of it being one-on-one with you and a judge, don't confuse this with one-on-one Zoom auditions. I only mean that it's like 2 people in the room, but there will be more people from the audition department, or if you're someone that's really crazy outstanding, then higher up people might be invited to this place as well to see your potential as a trainee. And in this situation, the judges will definitely ask you to sing or dance a specific song that they choose themselves. And this will definitely be prepared in advance. They won't ask you sing this song on the spot because that's just not possible. So instead of it being like a first round audition where it's like a choose your own songs type of situation, it'll be like a sing this. Why do they do this? Well, the judges want to see if you meet a specific standard of the trainees that they currently have, but they also want to see how well you suit a specific concept. So let's say that they already have their debut lineup somewhat confirmed. They know what kind of concept they're kind of getting into. So maybe they'll ask you to sing or dance or even rap a specific concept that they have in mind. In the third round, they will definitely ask you even more personal questions that they probably didn't get to ask in the second round. They'll really ask you everything, and you just gotta be prepared for that, I suppose. And I'll definitely make a video on the things that companies may ask you during your K-pop audition and the best responses for that. So stay tuned for that and let me know if you do want to see that video actually. And very lastly, we get into the fourth round. Now this is basically the same as a third round, you can think of it as. However, if your situation again was more complex, then they will ask you more things, or maybe they'll finalize certain things like contracts, maybe even visas. So I guess visas will be definitely handled in this round. And if you didn't sign your contract in the third round, this is where you sign your contract. So let's say you had 4 rounds, you signed the contract, what happens after that? Well, now you're officially a trainee. So maybe the day of or even the day after, you'll begin your trainee life right away because they've got no time to waste. And I know you guys are always wondering about monthly evaluations. So do you have to do that right away when you join the company, or how does that work? Well, typically trainees are given a month of kind of spare time. I don't know how to describe this, not spare time, but they're given some leisure compared to the other trainees. So let's say you joined on the 20th and the monthly evaluation is on the 30th. Then you probably won't be joining that monthly evaluation. If you joined at the first of the month and the monthly evaluation is on the 31st, then you'll definitely have to join that monthly evaluation like any other trainee. I guess now you'd have to watch my video on the trainee schedule because it's like a whole timeline. Ooh, that's kind of cool actually, how like these videos line up. Maybe I'll do one on idols and then it can all be interconnected to one another and it'd be so cute. Anyway, the question of the day is, did you learn anything from this video? I don't know, it was kind of information packed, but maybe it was obvious things that I just wanted to clarify up, but then there's also some new information. So what were you surprised by in this video, or what new things did you learn? Thank you so much for Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.